Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the WOW podcast. That is the Wise Men of Wrestling.
Wow, 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 wow.
Wow, wow, we were.
So this is welcome, as unfortunately Jay-Z is somewhat inebriated and incapable of doing an intro.
We're all a little bit inebriated, mate.
Welcome back, as he has rightly said, to the WOW podcast, where we are three wise men of wrestling.
Three drunk men of wrestling.
Well, that is also true, but we didn't really want to say that out loud on the recording. But you know what? Fuck it. We are drunk, and we are going to record drunk because fuck it, as I just said.
Exactly. And basically, the premise of today's episode is we are all fresh off of a wonderful experience for the first time ever, actually, for all of us. Not being at the WWE, because I know a couple of us have done it before. I don't know if you have, Ollie. But
yeah, I have. Actually, I've been to a pay-per-view before.
Interesting. Okay, so Mips, it was your first time, EK, of being at a recorded show, but you've been to some live kind of house shows before.
I have been to some house shows. Yeah.
For me, it was a first experience ever. I've never been able to go before, so...
we took his WWE virginity.
Sure.
Just putting it out there.
Sure. So, we are here today to talk not necessarily just about the shows that we've been to.
It's not wrong.
Not just the shows that we've necessarily been to, but actually kind of the European tour as a whole, our experiences then as part of that as SmackDown, and in EK's case rather, he went to Raw as well. And then
a lot of money and now broke as fuck. Yeah,
I think we all did, to be honest. And then at the end, kind of, we'll give it a very quick summary with some overall thoughts. So I think for me, where we're going to kick off actually isn't necessarily our own experiences at the live shows. I think very quickly we're going to all have a word kind of with our say on the European tour as a whole. For me, it's really interesting how this tour came about. Reportedly so, can't confirm for definite. Obviously, we don't have the sources. No one particularly does. But reportedly, the tour came to Europe this season before WrestleMania, because obviously John Cena is part of the crew now. He's obviously back. He's in the fold. He's obviously on his retirement tour. I will forever cry once he does retire. But reportedly it came to Europe because he had filming commitments and he couldn't quite make it work otherwise. But I have to say, from my perspective, and this is the only thing I'm going to say on the European tour as a whole, for me, similarly to when they moved to 2 nights of WrestleMania during kind of COVID, for me, this was an example of where they've done something, and I don't think moving forward that they can ignore it and that they can ignore the amazing crowds, shows, and turnouts that they had across the European tour. It just felt bigger. It felt better. I mean, prime example, the Profits winning the tag titles on the road. I just think it was absolutely incredible from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. It was just so awesome, both watching on TV and being there, and
proper chants for one.
Oh yeah, proper chants as well.
Just what?
But also chants in the respective languages as well. Yeah. Chants in the respective languages
amazing.
as well.
I have to say,
c'est vrai phenomenal.
I have to say,
sorry to our French fans.
I think
for watching that.
Yeah,
I truly think that the London crowd is probably one of the best. However,
awesome.
I have to be honest. I'm a little bit nervous about France hosting another pay-per-view soon, which they're going to be doing, because I have to say, earlier, sort of last year, the Lyon crowd, or was it this year? I can't remember.
It was last year. It was last year. It was Backlash in Paris, yeah.
It was Lyon. Actually, it wasn't Paris, it was Lyon.
It's still France.
It's still France. But I have to say, that that crowd for that pay-per-view on Backlash, I just think were absolutely sublime. And I really think they kind of kicked off the resurgence of the WWE wanting to take their shows global. They had the stars to do it, but I think with that Lyon pay-per-view in particular, Money in the Bank in the UK as well, I think they really kind of realised what they had on their hands with the European.
And I can tell you the exact moment where they realised that. It was on the SmackDown before, when the crowd were just going mad for AJ Styles.
Interesting. I thought you were. Do you know what? I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say when Jay borrowed the Fireflies.
Oh, I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say when Paul Heyman, when Roman Reigns improvised and got Paul Heyman singing along to the raucous London crowd chanting.
Oh, that was
before.
incredible.
No,
we'll talk about that shortly. Though.
I'm talking about when they realised that they had to do more European shows,
fair.
which was the SmackDown before the Backlash in France.
Oh yeah.
When all of a sudden they were just singing. I can't say it because I can't speak French.
French. I have.
It's like something like
But it
"C'est
was
vraiment
amazing.
phénoménal" or something like that.
It was
Do you know
amazing.
what? I have
to give them props for it.
Outside of the UK, and particularly like thinking about that Money in the Bank crowd and the way that they brought kind of Cody Rhodes to the ring during it, I have to say, outside of that,
much LA Knight was over that night as well.
Yeah, and I have to say, outside of that, I think the only crowd I've ever seen beat us is that French crowd. I'll be honest. As much as I don't
interestingly.
like to say it.
I've seen a lot of people commenting from the American crowds say, "Oh, the European crowds, they hijack it, they make it all about themselves."
Yeah, but that's American.
Americans, they're just salty. They're just salty about that. We bring the fun.
They don't understand.
Smoke.
But like America, for me, it's no criticism, right? Because it's different cultures, it's different ways of doing stuff. But like you look at American chanting, it's a very different way of life and a very different way of doing things in terms of chanting in general. But I do think that if you want to make it a bit of a party atmosphere, right, like where better to look than what they would call soccer or we would call football, and football countries that understand it and sporting countries in Europe that know how to chant, know how to really build an atmosphere. No disrespect to the Americans. Like I think they've had some really good crowds at times. I think the Canadians have had some really good crowds at times.
If they think a crowd chanting really loud and having fun and actually, and then the superstars buying into that, is hijacking the show. What do you call taking a beach ball to a show and batting it around during a match? That's hijacking.
Sounds like the final day of a football season to me.
Well, yeah, that is true.
For American fans, we mean soccer.
Literally.
For American fans, we're talking soccer.
I will say one thing on that though. In terms of hijacking the show, realistically, where are stars built? They are built on having to react to crowds in the right way.
Absolutely.
So if you're with a crowd that is doing nothing, like most of, unfortunately, and I don't want to offend anyone here, but most of the American crowds, they say nothing most of the time. Exactly. That's it.
I mean,
they say nothing other than what and we are awesome. And this is awesome.
Or,
come on, grow up.
Take the Jay Cooker promo recently, where Jay was trying to be really serious. And every time there was a break, they went, yeet.
It's
like,
like,
killed the momentum with that promo.
The only way that you build stars is by challenging them the right way, to react in the right way.
Charlotte, as you saw, Charlotte couldn't handle that.
Look, before we move on to our own experience, I'm going to put this as the perfect way I can, right? Which is Austin 316 says Europeans just kill the Americans' asses in that crowd.
Agreed, and Triple H loves the European crowds,
100%.
Which is why he said that there will eventually have to be a Mania here.
100%.
And it's interesting.
Problem is
when you
how
contrast
it has to be a bloody bid system.
the audience of the last Raw compared to the Raw in London, it's a completely different atmosphere.
So,
It was so good.
in any case, we're going to move on to our experiences on SmackDown. And I have to say, I think for me, where I would like to start, and I would like to get your guys' opinion, right? Obviously, I've never been to a show in America, right? And I'm assuming it's very similar in that there's a lot of like-minded people there. But for me, one of the things I loved the most about being at the O2 and being there for SmackDown was the sense of community. And I think it's only a sense of community that I really think that you can get kind of within Europe, not in a bad way, and this is all I'm going to say on it, and it's the only thing that any of us need to say on it. I think that whilst life is very divided for a lot of people, I think possibly a little bit less so here in the UK at times. And I think for me, what was really lovely about it was everyone came together in only the way that a British crowd can, in the sense of that, there was that community of, we were sat by people, EK and I, that is, we were sat by people behind us that allowed us to hold their John Cena spinner belt, when we had our own, John Cena merch on, for example. I spent way too much money, but I don't care.
John Cena merch,
amazing light.
John Cena merch, they're still wearing.
Exactly. And I truly think for me, as a baseline to begin with, that was the most important thing for me. It was immediately a sense of community, a sense of belonging. Everyone was there to have a fun. It felt like the big event that it should be. That these Raws and SmackDowns, because they're in different locations, I think they just feel bigger and they feel better.
And for me, that community I felt that as well, because I wasn't sat with Jay-Z and EK, I was on my own. So I was surrounded by people I didn't know.
Lonely.
And it didn't take...
I'm so lonely.
But
I'm on my own.
Shut the hell up. No, you're wrong and shut up.
All right.
I didn't feel alone.
The promos have started early, guys.
I didn't feel alone because the guy to my right, we were chatting during the Drew and Randy Orton match. I was having a Julian chant with the guy 2-3 seats down. During the Michi and Charlotte match, I was having the biggest fun, the two guys in front, making up our own commentary in the style of JR, King, and even Vince McMahon. It was so much fun. All I said was, run him over. That was it. We didn't go anywhere else.
I have to say, before we move on to EK, I think there's a couple of things I want to say, and I hate to do this, but I'm actually going to give EK credit. We're three very passionate people, and we're three people with very loud voices, in case you haven't guessed.
I'm very
EK started a few chants, was really good. I started a few chants as well between us.
I tried.
For me, mostly, I can't lie, it was probably Chelsea Green chants, as I'm Chelsea Green stan.
Chelsea Green, yeah.
For EK, I think he did a really good job. He started a couple of Roman Reigns chants. I did a couple of Cody chants, to be fair. I did do that.
You did.
But specifically for me, it was getting people chanting Chelsea Green. And I think one of the really nice, unique things that as Europeans we can do is we can bring that football element to stuff. So for me, with Chelsea Green, one of the things that I was chanting was Chelsea chants as well. I don't know if you've all listened, but you probably will have heard it on the kind of show itself, on the broadcast. Is there are a lot of anti-Tottenham chants, and that was really funny, obviously,
yes,
as the kind of Chelsea stuff. And that was actually coming from our section, which was really funny. I had a couple of ones.
I'm not anti-Tottenham. I got swept up into singing along with it. Because the atmosphere.
You can't not sing about...
The one I loved was the very typical British chant of Chelsea, give us away. Chelsea, give us away.
Funnily enough, that was me that started that.
I was just saying, I just feel like it came from that direction.
Yeah, that was me, to be fair, so I will take that.
Yes. But no, it was just awesome. And it was the fact that the two guys in front of me, we didn't know each other, we barely looked at each other, but we just bounced off each other, and it was just hilarious. It didn't matter that we didn't know who we were.
Oh, honestly, it was amazing. It was a dream come true, and in a way, I think all three of us have always dreamt about going to something live properly.
100%.
Obviously, you've been to one.
I was 12, and I have no recollection.
It's so different. Like honestly, I've been to house shows. It is so different. If anyone's only been to house shows that's listening, you need to go to a live show. It's completely different. That it feels different. I can't really explain it. It just feels so much better.
Your guys' opinion. When they were when they had an entrance, say for example, where was Caden Carter, Katana Chant, and then they cut to what was clearly an advert break. Did you guys feel like it was kind of awkward that they were just standing there in the ring?
Yeah, but that the problem is that because it's live,
that's TV for you.
But then you had someone that but then transposed that with Randy Orton, who spent that whole 5 minutes outside with the fans. I was watching, interacting with the kids in the front.
See, from where we were, we couldn't actually see too much because it was quite dark where the ring was.
Katana and Chance.
Oh, when KO ran out underneath us, that was sick.
That was.
And I could see Naomi. I literally spotted Naomi literally creeping around. I only saw the first from her hair, then the bright yellow police tape. But then as soon as I saw her, and you could see literally all of us reacting when Jacob Fatu came out. Yeah. We all literally about a whole group of just stuff went ah.
Look, we'll get on. We will get onto that. Don't worry. Look, I just want to say one thing before we finish. On the whole experience, it was just exceptional. I just want to kind of say that if anyone is thinking of going next time, but obviously it's a lot of
go.
You have to go and experience it at least once.
Even waiting in the queue at the merch stand.
That was unbelievable.
I mean, look, one lesson learned, if we can give any advice to someone, if you do go to the O2, where it's likely to be, don't wait outside in the merch queue. There is a bigger... There's a inside. You don't need to go in to the other one.
Agreed.
It's a waste of time. We could have stood there for a long time.
But we enjoyed it. Don't get us wrong. There was lots of lovely people around us.
Look, the European crowds are so good.
And also, if you go to O2, eat before you go because they're expensive.
I agree. So I hold on. I feel like I need to get this off my chest before we move on. I am taking full credit, and Jay-Z will back me up on this, for the Roman Reigns chant that is now going around everywhere.
So I would like to take credit for this in the sense of, not take credit for it, rather, I would like to give EK credit for this in the sense of He did start it inside the O2 a couple of times.
It hadn't been done before.
I think it had been done before personally, but you know what? Who am I not to give a man his flowers?
At the end of the day, it was derivative of the Cody Rhodes chant.
Exactly.
It was the original.
No one had sung it with his name before I did it. And no one had also done the ole, 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 far too far. That was me as well, and you know that was. Give me props on that before we move on.
I will somewhat give flowers on that.
Thank you very much. Now we can move on. Let's become a new man.
We're going to talk about now
smart.
What did and what did not work during the show. And I think, for ease, I think we're going to give one thing each.
Yeah.
So, what did work for me? The main event, the contract signing. I think that contract signing for me, that contract signing is probably segment of the year. So far, may not be by the end of it. Obviously, we've got Mania to come. Watching Paul Heyman get involved in the chants, watching Roman Reigns, who obviously is this incredible character, have fun, and almost in many senses break character to understand the appreciation and the love that was coming from the crowd.
Even Seth's reacting with it when he throwing the microphone. Look, they're singing my chant. Will you sing it too?
I just think it ended up.
Look at what he's been before.
Look
at how far Roman has gone. If that was him 3 or 4 years ago,
not a chance.
He would never be able to do that.
You know what? I watched a video on YouTube, and it was all about the whole Cody Roman thing leading up to last year, and it made a really good point that up until the moment that he left because he had cancer, he had leukemia, he was not a popular guy.
No.
He's a pure example of absence makes the heart grow fonder. He came back, he was at a heel, but that made him then having that break, so he wasn't there the whole time. He came back and he was huge. And now we've seen a whole different side of him because they're letting him be more him.
So, for me, what didn't work, before we move on to kind of EK to give his views on what didn't work. For me, what didn't work, I have to be honest, is the Charlotte versus Meechin match. I think it was a bit of a strange setup, right? Because obviously Meechin came out with B-Fab, and then B-Fab got taken out by Naomi for some strange odd
No, they had a backstage altercation.
I know, but it felt a bit random.
Because B-Fab was bigging up Jade and stuff.
I know, but it felt a little bit random to me. And to be honest, for then obviously Meechin obviously got taken out a bit, and Charlotte obviously then kind of took advantage. I don't know. I didn't really love the way that it transpired. I didn't really think that Naomi's problem is obviously Jade Cargill, right? So for me, it didn't quite make sense. So I would say personally for me, that's what didn't work. So obviously my thing that did work is that final segment I think was stunning. I think, that contract signing, I think probably, to be honest, is the best contract signing I've ever witnessed, and probably one of the only ones that I've actually ever fully been able to sit there and be engaged with. So that's my views. I was going to pass over to EK, but I can see he's still doing a little bit of research, which is totally fair enough. So I will pass over to the grandpa.
One thing that I thought really worked was the through line of Drew, going from him interrupting the open segment with him and Randy, and you had the him and Randy match, the little interview saying, "Oh yeah, I'm now going to go out and have drinks with Lewis Capaldi." Goes out, wham! There's Drew, there's Damon Priest, bish bash bosh, onto the real glass. And then having that little moment of having Punk then going past, making the little AEW joke of, "Oh yeah, that's real glass," and then going out to that just worked so well. When you have shows that've got a through line, it works really well. What didn't work for me, I thought was a bit weird, was the transitions from coming to the ring, going to adverts, coming back again. It felt
I know what you mean. I
understand the point of it, but for me, it kind of took me out.
I know what you mean. I think it's one of those things, and I think,
it's different when it's live TV.
Exactly that, right? I think it's just one of those really unfortunate things. It's live TV. Yeah, and it's one of those things, right? When you're watching at home, you're cursing the ad breaks. You're like, what the fuck is this? It's annoying me. All this sort of stuff. But then, having been there, exactly as you're saying, Ollie, I understand it. But I guess kind of it gives me an appreciation as to why there needs to be those ad breaks in between. Yeah. Because you can quite clearly see, obviously the ring needs preparing. You know, for example, it didn't happen at the show we were at, but for example, God forbid there was not God forbid rather, but if you're lucky enough to see like a stipulation, for example, such as I don't know, a cage match, right, or a street fight, for example, like you can understand why there needs to be that time. But I agree with you. In person, it feels a little disjointed. I wasn't a big fan of like kind of the in between sort of entertainment, if you will. You know, the briefcase, the Money in the Bank briefcase, what that sort of stuff. I think where it could have probably benefited is similarly to other live shows that I've been to before, things like, for example, A League of Their Own, they have a stage floor manager. And I think someone like that can come in and manage the floor and keep the crowd going in the interim
that should be the
is
announcer.
a lot better. Well, it was the announcer whilst we were there, but I don't think it works from the perspective of an announcer in wrestling because they've got a very defined role, and I don't think that is their role to be doing that in between matches, where it probably could have benefited from someone else, or even someone like, I don't know, like a live bit of music in between, or just something like that.
Or you just have like a roving reporter going through and like, what do you think of the show? Kind of little thing.
Exactly.
It can't be the announcer.
Give Byron Saxton something.
Exactly. So I don't think it can be the announcer.
We can't hear the announcer, so it can't be the announcer. That's the problem.
We can hear the announcer, but it's the commentators we can't hear.
That's what I mean.
What I mean is you could have sit on like a Byron Saxton, give the boys something to do.
I think it's a shame, you know. I think one of the things that I think WWE probably could do to improve the experience, and I don't know how they would necessarily do it from a kind of live TV audio output and ensuring that the audio output goes to the right people at home, but certainly within the stadium. I actually think I might have liked to hear the commentary as we're going along.
I think that might have made Charlotte meet Chin a bit more interesting with the commentary, them giving you the story beats.
I agree. Yeah. I agree on that.
Even if it's like, for example, you could, an app, for example,
worried that it would be too loud.
Yeah, exactly, and I understand it.
Or I said like an app where you can then connect with your headphones and you can say, right, you can then choose, have headphones in, listen to the commentary during the matches or whatever.
Agreed.
Right. Okay, I'm going to go around this in a different way because I could easily say about the contract signing. I could easily say about the first promo with Cody and Randy and Kevin and Drew coming out. I'm going to go in a different way. I'm going to say that, from my opinion, what did work is the ending of the United States Championship match with Jacob Fatu coming out and completely taking everyone out by storm. I mean, he just looked like an absolute...
He was an animal.
Monster. And I think also the fact that they did it in the UK, where they knew he would get a massive reaction as well, has just put him over like three times more than if it was in America.
Just on
the way they did it.
Just on Jacob Fatu. It's amazing. I can't believe he was
He's incredible. And I think he's one or two big things away from being that main event star now. He just needs one or two wins, and I think that would just solidify him.
I just think he can do things at his size that not a lot of other wrestlers.
I do think he needs an alternate finisher to the moonsault because you've got.
Oh, I don't.
Because you've got Tiffy that does a very similar moonsault.
Yeah, but his is so much better.
There's only so many finishing moves you can do.
I think if he can pull it. The thing is, if he was smaller. Yeah, 100% he needs something different. The fact that he's that size he's able to do the way that he does it so seamlessly and so good means he has to have that as his finisher and nothing else. Fair point. Also, from what my opinion, the one thing that they probably could have done differently and I didn't like, not necessarily didn't like, but just thought it was a bit pointless, was after the Charlotte Michin match where you just see Tiffany Stratton on the screen when realistically...
She needs to be out in the crowd.
She should have been out in the crowd. She should have been getting a bit of a pop because I think that would have actually helped get a bit more over.
I think it would be good
if she was out there
she comes
with
out
the crowd.
I think it should have been I think it should have been a Jackie Redmond crowd interview like they've been doing recently a lot, or a Kathy Kennedy.
Or Charlotte wins and it's suddenly it's Tiffy time.
All that said to me was that All that said to me was that they pre-recorded it in America and she wasn't there.
Yeah,
and that was just disappointing.
It was.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that from your point of view.
I must say when they did the impromptu ladies tag match, it did feel weird. They're just back and now they're coming out. It felt a bit odd.
100%. One of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about, and we the grandpa and I are going to pass over to EK about this to very quickly talk through it. Is EK's Raw experience. The one thing I will say is I loved the SmackDown experience. I loved the show in person. I really liked the show when I watched it back. I have to say I'm very jealous. I think Raw was the better of the two.
I disagree.
I am eternally jealous that you got to live my dream of seeing John Cena in person. But I wondered if you could give us a little bit of kind of like a one thing that worked, a very quick one thing that worked, and a one thing that didn't work from Raw as well, in your opinion. Because as I say, I think it was sad to say, as much as I love SmackDown, and I think SmackDown was one of my, it means a lot to me, genuinely means a lot to me having been there. I do think watching it back on TV, the Raw show was probably a bit better. So give us one thing that didn't work.
I'm going to do something a bit different to that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how I thought the show, I thought it won't take long. How I thought the show was, one good thing about it, one thing I think should have been improved, and then which show, in my opinion, being there live, I thought was better.
That's a very good idea.
First thing first, I thought being there again for Raw, it was really good. The atmosphere was obviously, amazing again in the same seats. It had a similar feel to SmackDown still. And the crowd was actually somewhat more up for it at the times.
It's SmackDown or Raw, sorry?
Raw, for some reason, it was really weird. It felt a bit different. I wasn't as excited for it, I must admit, going into it, just because of how much I enjoyed SmackDown.
It's because I wasn't there.
Well, don't tell Benj that. But
friend of the show, Benj Turek.
Yeah,
who's possibly going to listen to this?
Give him a shout out. Listen now,
mate. Shout out to Benj Turek. Now, one thing I will say is one thing I think they did well within the Raw. That segment between Cody Rhodes and John Cena was just incredible live.
Yeah,
incredible.
It was obviously really, really amazing watching it back on screen, but being there live and just being able to take it all in and see it there.
I think one of my favourite promos.
Just be there was insane.
Was that the chauffeur promo? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favourite sets of promos I've ever seen.
I think that segment, unfortunately, for my opinion, actually outdoes the contract signing for that weekend.
Having been at the contract signing, I agree. This is why I think it was a better show.
It was that on its own was unbelievable. The one thing that I think they could have done differently, and that I didn't necessarily like, you have Gunther being there and beating the absolute shit out of Jimmy Uso, right?
That was incredible.
However, what people on screen did not see that were watching it live, and what we were seeing being there, was you see Gunther go out by the stage, right?
Yeah.
I don't think, for some reason, I don't think it came across on camera how long it took for him to then come all the way. It's like five minutes. We were just we were all just standing there thinking, okay, why are they not cutting to the next segment? Mm-hmm. This is really it's taking forever to get to the next point. And all of a sudden you just see him running back and we're like, what the fuck? Why is he doing that? And then he goes and beats him up again and gets in blood and it was like, whoa.
Out of interest, what was, obviously, it was fucking brutal. And I have to say, I don't think Gunther has, and he's done some stunning work in WWE. I think it was Gunther's best segment I've ever seen. I have to say, I think it was absolutely...
He was a monster.
I think it was incredible. But I wanted to know... What I wanted to know is, because we didn't particularly at SmackDown, I don't think we saw anyone get cut up in general. So I've never seen anything like that in terms of blading and being cut up in general. But I wanted to know how it kind of felt in the crowd. Did it feel a little bit awkward? Did it feel exciting in the right way? I'm not talking about fucking Brock Lesnar splitting Randy Orton's head open and Jericho confronting Lesnar backstage. But I genuinely wondered... Exactly. But I wondered from your perspective how it was to see kind of that blood segment in real life, whether you saw everything. For example, one of the things I feel like might have been really easy to miss live that we saw on the broadcast is, for example, Gunther literally putting Jimmy's blood in his mouth like an absolute...
We could see...
Straight out.
We saw that. What people on watching it back home probably didn't see is when Jimmy gets thrown out of the ring, his head goes underneath the ring and he blades himself there.
That's clever. Because you hear lots of reports saying, "Oh, I was there live and we saw them put their hand on their forehead and like."
No. But I think his head was under the ring, on the outside of the ring, and he bled it, and he did it there because as soon as he came back up, you could see the blood.
I have to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of blading, but I think there's been two fantastic pieces of blading this year. The first being that, the second being KO versus Cody. on that ladder stand.
Well, Rock, Cody, and backstage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that one was
This
very
is the
good
thing.
as well.
I know we're not talking about.
They get it right because they don't do it too often.
And this is what the other side do wrong.
Why.
They do it so much because it's gratuitous and it loses the impact.
I
With
agree.
WWE, get that blood and you go, shit, this is serious.
The
now.
biggest difference, in my opinion, between, and I know we're going slightly off topic, but between AEW and WWE, AEW is genuinely a bona fide spot fest.
Yes.
That's what I think.
It's all match, no story.
That's what I
Whereas
think.
WWE is a story and it takes you in a direction where, number one, you don't always expect, and number two, it keeps you guessing.
That's what I think.
It's not, why are they do? It's not just like, why'd you do that?
It
makes
not,
sense. Everything, in a way, when it's done right, makes sense. Whereas
Agreed.
everything AEW does is just like, why do you need to get dropped?
Agreed. It's not.
Why do you need to get dropped on a broom?
Spiked baseball bat
Exactly.
stuck in your fucking back.
Exactly.
It wasn't even a spiked baseball bat, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It was a mace. It was a literal mace. Like,
It doesn't
why
make
on
sense.
earth? You know, for example, on the other side, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, for Edge to stick a mace in
Not
the
Edge,
back.
Cope.
I'm calling him Edge. For Edge to stick a
It
mace
wasn't
in the
Edge.
back of Dean Ambrose or John Moxley, rather, in his back. There needs, if you're going to do something like that, you need like a Mick Foley and like a proper, or like a Tommy Dreamer, like a proper,
Someone who you know
a proper
is-
story towards it. Whereas for me, it's like, they're just doing it pointlessly for it. And for me, where Hunter has done a really, really good job of this is blading and these really kind of big, stunty segments. They're few and far between, and that's why they feel so important. It's the same thing for me with KO and his package power driver.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
it's not done
like,
so
wrestling.
regularly. It's so important, and it makes it feel bigger, and it makes it
And
feel
it's
better.
sold like death. The people that were hit by it, they literally go, maybe not Cody was hit by it or something and he didn't live long, but like Randy Orton sold like death.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn,
Yeah.
he's still,
Well, look, I will say on my, so yeah, effectively, I think they could have done that a bit better, where it just felt like a lot longer than it probably looked when you were watching it on TV. And a lot of us were just thinking, what's kind of going on here? But out of the two, in my opinion, being to both live, I think the better show was SmackDown.
Is that because I was there?
No, it's because I felt like it flowed.
Savage.
I felt like it flowed a lot better.
the storyline of Drew and...
I felt like
Have you watched both back?
yes.
What's your opinion after watching both back via a broadcast as opposed to
Yes.
just being there in person?
I still enjoyed SmackDown more.
Interesting.
I think genuinely it's because whilst the segment between Cody and Cena was unbelievable, the segment between Roman, Seth, and Punk, along with the segment with
feel it
Cody
out.
and
Exceeded
Roman, Cody and Randy and Drew, and then the match with Randy, and everything just worked.
Yeah.
Whereas I just don't think that everything at Raw
And this is the other
worked as well.
That Raw.
You can't have one segment carrying the whole show.
Also, something to point out here,
Or two.
for SmackDown, we've pretty much named the entire card. You can remember everything that happened on that card. Raw, you remember those two segments.
Fair.
Jay Gunther and Jimmy Gunther, and then the bloody beatdown, and Cena Rhodes. I couldn't tell you anything else happened on that show.
I will say it was quite fun actually afterwards when Punk and Ludwig came out, and then Punk beat Ludwig, and we started singing.
Was that was the dark?
Did he sing
That was Dark
Queen?
Man.
Did he
We
sing
started
Queen? Yeah.
singing. Fat
For
Cats and
reference,
Girls.
for anyone that's not aware, the dark match
Dark
of
match.
SmackDown started before the show, and that was actually MCMG versus DIY, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Which for this,
Which was a
Morty's
good
TNA
match.
It
fan
was.
was just awesome because I've always loved the MCMG.
Yeah, it was quite funny when Punk came. Just one more thing, it was quite funny when Punk came out when he won and started like saying, "You know what, we're live anymore, so we can fucking swear. Let's fucking go!" And everyone just went mad. So
Jamie's
that
such a
was
dickhead,
pretty-
isn't there?
Yeah,
Really?
I have to ask, what was Penta's entrance like? Live.
Yeah, it was
I
pretty
must
cool.
be incredible.
It was pretty cool. Everyone went a bit mad for him, to be fair. Also, back on something that we said in the previous episode, Dominic Mysterio got a very big pop.
It doesn't surprise me.
People love him.
I'm very upset Dom wasn't there at SmackDown. I know that he wouldn't have been, but I would have loved to see Dom.
yeah.
So, I think the way we want to just wrap this up is give, kind of a couple of overall thoughts and some sentiment each. So, for me, I would like to say this. I think, as I say, The sense of community was really important, and I think it's something that's so unique. And I think it's really important, specifically in the world these days, where without going into it, we live in a very divisive world. So it was nice to be around like-minded people. I think the production value of these shows is just incredible, whether it's the pyro, whether it's the setup of the staging, the lighting, the technology. You can just see what goes into it. I think it's incredible. The wrestlers themselves, I have almost a new appreciation for what they actually do in that ring. I think it was incredible to see it. I lived my dreams seeing Randy Orton perform. Gutted I wasn't at Raw to at least see John Cena in person. But for me, I think probably...
You would have cried.
I would have cried, no doubt. For me, I think,
Cena cry, baby.
As everyone knows, I'm a Cody crybaby until it comes to Cena. There is no one that will ever beat Cena for me.
JC's already said for Mania he's going to dress half like Cena, half like Cody.
I probably
including neck tattoo.
Well, not so much that. But for me, I just want to say that it was really the most incredible night. It was unique. It felt different to some of the other shows that, have really been going on in kind of the last year. And, you see the value of what these crowds do when, for example, since then, Hunter has already come out and said there will be a pay-per-view in London next year, or rather the UK. It might not necessarily be London, but there will be a pay-per-view in the UK next year, and it's only by these crowds coming up, showing out in the way that we did that.
And you got the Clash in Paris tour as well.
Exactly. And I think it's amazing. And for me, the last thing I'm going to say before I pass it over to the grandpa is, for me, this new way that they've done this year of this European tour on the road to WrestleMania, for me, has to come back next year and every year thereafter.
I agree, because it allows more people to see the product.
100%.
Because it gets more eyes on the product. And
Gunther literally said that Hunter has saved wrestling by opening doors to not just European athletes, but also European crowds.
There'll be kids in that audience who may never get another chance to go see WWE live.
100%.
So that will be something that will stick with them. And honestly, also it's value for money.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's look. Let's be realistic. We live in a very expensive world. It's not cheap to be there. It's really not. But I had saved for it for a while, and I have to say, it's one of the few things I've spent money on where I've never looked back and thought, I regret that.
And also good quality.
It was stunning. From start to finish, it was absolutely stunning. But yeah, the shirts as well. Not just the tickets. We all bought some merch together. And, we all love it. We're all sitting here in our merch at the moment. The grandpa's in his Simone Wolf t-shirt.
I love you, Solo.
EK is in his John Cena The Last Time Is Now t-shirt. He's also in his Last Time Is Now headband. He's got his wristbands on. I'm in my John Cena t-shirt. I've got my Cena cap. I've got my Undisputed necklace. Honestly,
some of us have kitty title belts.
Exactly. And, it's not...
Some of us are boring.
It's not, money in this day and age, obviously, is such an important part of life for so many reasons, and I understand it completely. But it's one of the very few times where I've spent money and I've felt like that is really justified in not just the product of the quality, but also, I think, personally, what the night meant to me. And I think that's really important in the experiences. Can you come away from an experience feeling inspired and feeling like that meant a lot to me? And I actually think, to be honest, that's what more than anything these people who put their bodies on the line want to hear.
And I think it was having the John Cena exclusive London tops as well. He also had the Cody Rhodes one, which I really regret not getting now. But
yeah, I should have
in hindsight, especially when then the exclusive, I was like, sugar.
I got a Cody one. I don't know if it was the UK one.
I don't know.
Well, look, I think on my overall thoughts, it was honestly, it was a dream come true. It was probably, and I said this to someone, I can't remember who I said, I think I might have actually said it to my dad. Honestly, it was one of the best nights of my life. Both of them. It was just an incredible atmosphere to be there. It's so different when you're there live. It's just amazing, and I can't tell anyone enough that they have to go to experience it live. I will say this, I did speak to a few people that were there, and some of them were American, and they were telling me that it's actually a lot more expensive to go to this in America.
It doesn't surprise me.
$600 to go to something like this in America.
Doesn't surprise me.
Which is actually ridiculous. So it's really good value for money. And also the fact that we've all bought tops will show that, yeah, we are there. We were there. Sorry, they're fighting over the last bar of chocolate for some reason. Look, all it shows, we were there. We will remember this for the rest of our lives because we were there together.
Great.
And also we have the tops that will prove it. Plus, this is only going to stir us to go to more together.
I agree.
The UK pay-per-view next year, I'm already thinking, like, regardless of it.
Oh, we have to be there.
I agree.
Even if we band together and we save up together and whatever,
100%.
we could sit together at least.
Can I just say as well, and I think before I pass over to the guys to kind of finish off before we do our usual outro, for me, one of the things that was most amazing, and I'm going to be a little bit sentimental here, and you guys listening, you might not know this, but in the last year, we've all come together as really good friends once again, and for me, I think what's really amazing about this experience is it's not just strengthened my love for the product, but in its own way, it's almost brought what was three really close friends together even further, and has almost built up our kind of love for the shows and for one another, and a real appreciation of, like, we are just three dudes who are a little bit nerdy but love to nerd out together, and we've found our little niche together. And again, in this day and age where it's a very isolating world and there's a lot of, like, look out for yourself over anyone, for me, that's what's really important coming away from this, is that it's just brought people together.
That was both the cutest and wettest thing you've ever said.
Probably, but you know what? We're here for a little bit of...
This is the alcohol talking.
No, it honestly wasn't. It's already worn off, to be truthful with you. It's just a simple case. It's just a simple case of, like, sometimes you just have to understand there is sentimentality behind stuff, and, experiences that you have together, whether it's a football match, whether it's a live event, like a wrestling event, whether it's a theatre show, whatever it is, a holiday, it just brings people together. And I think it's so important now more than ever to be doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I will just finish on is this has genuinely proved to me even more. And I knew this already, but the wrestling community is just so fucking cool.
It is.
It's just so cool to be around people that also love what you love, and there's no judgments. Like, it makes no difference. You can wear what you want, you can do what you want, you can say what the fuck you want. And it's just so good to be in that, like, natural environment where you can go to shows, enjoy it, and just be you. And that's, I think, the best thing that we can all agree on, that wrestling just brings out of each other.
Ollie, any final concluding thoughts?
I agree. It's like, this has given me the one thing I've always wanted: friends to talk about wrestling with. It's always just been with my brother, who didn't really care so much, and my dad, who likes to think he knows stuff, but he really just believes what he reads. But to actually have people who I can go to these shows with, do a podcast with, just chat about this stuff with, it's just awesome.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think guys, we'll leave it there. And I to conclude, you can clearly see the passion behind it, right? And I think we are three very passionate people, and in its own way, I think this has ignited our passion almost tenfold more. And we love the shows, obviously, and we love the fact that it brings us together to even just do this, whether we've got 10 listeners, 1 listener, 100 listeners, 1,000 listeners, whatever it is. I think the concluding message that we just want to say is thank you. Yes. And that's not just a thank you to all of you, that's a thank you for WWE also as well, for in this new era of leadership being even braver and understanding that there is a whole worldwide audience out there, and actually that this is now a worldwide product that so many people can not just enjoy, but they can actually benefit from in so many different ways. And also, and I'm not just talking about being together, I'm talking about economically. There's huge benefits as well to the country as a whole, in general, the tourism it sometimes brings, but also just in general, the money it encourages people to put into the economy, but also just the vibes, right? Like, I think that's where we'll leave it. It is the vibes, right? Like, it is just vibes, and it is great, and it is cool, and it feels like wrestling is in an era where it is becoming cool again. And, for so long, I think it's a really difficult thing when you love wrestling, right? Because, there's always the stigma around being the weird kid or loving things that you're not supposed to necessarily love as an adult, or what
getting
people
told,
think is childish.
you shouldn't like wrestling.
Exactly. Like, you look at me, for example, like, I love wrestling. I love fucking Pokemon. I don't give a shit. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the lot. Like, I really don't
I've never
care.
been to Yu-Gi-Oh!
I really don't care. Like,
This
I
is
love it
another
all.
conversation.
100%, but like, I love it all.
Another
But like,
podcast.
Yeah.
but this is the point, right? In going to wrestling and in understanding that, there is that community, it makes me not afraid to also say that I love these other things as well. It just teaches me that, like, you need to be your authentic self. And I think, that's where we'll conclude. I feel like we're all in agreement on that. So, yeet.
Yeet, indeed.
With that said, I want to say thank you very much for listening to our incredibly funny rambles. We're sorry we're a little bit drunk, but, sometimes that produces the best content.
Amen to whiskey.
And on that note, lads, someone give the socials, because I never remember them, but you can contact us on...
Twitter at...
X.
X.
Technically X now, which I will tell you actually, funny enough, because the only one I do know is WO Wrestles. We love our X account. We've had some hysterical times recently. We've had
Our
Chelsea
Truth
Queen.
follows us.
Our Truth follows us now.
Big shout out to the Truth man.
Big shout out to me.
Maybe,
Shout out to follow
please, next week on SmackDown, when Cena's there, we need Cena and Truth.
100%. And then also the other person that has liked our tweet recently, which again, I am going to take credit for, is someone that I didn't really appreciate before, but I really appreciate now after watching on Insight with Chris Van Vliet. That is JD McDonough.
Yeah.
What a man. Please, I know you're almost better, but get better soon. Come back. I mean, that was one of the scariest botches I've ever seen in recent times. And I have so much respect for him off the back of that.
I completely agree.
But yes, as I said, you can catch us on WO Wrestles on X.
I think it's the same for Instagram.
WO Wrestling on Instagram.
WO Wrestling. And lads, give us the email address.
WOWrestling24 at gmail.com.
And you can send in any comments, questions, predictions you might have for the coming weeks.
Or even things you want us to see. Maybe set some challenges, like how to rebook something, or how could we rebook something.
Give us some ideas, because we are not necessarily running out, but we would love your ideas.
We want to know. We're doing this just for us, but for you guys. We want to know what you want to hear from us three.
Exactly. I think, it is a community, and I think that is the overriding point. And so with that
community.
And so with that, we will say goodbye. Thank you for listening to this mini episode, and we will see you next time.
Peace.